welcome again. And before we get started, let me just say, please go over to Harley Badger's channel, link in the description and right here in the upper right, for his channel. He's trying to grow himself as well. So this is a very special episode, my first television, part 2. And part 2, it's not about the TV though. This was part 1. We covered that. Here's the link in the upper right, as well as the previous video, in fact. So yes, that was my actual first TV, reunited with it. Go watch the video. But this video is about my actual first VCR. And that makes it a very, very special episode. Again, not to be confused with the TV trope. My definition is if it was from my past, my childhood, and it's the same model, it's a very special episode. If it's the actual unit, it is a very, very special episode. And that's exactly what this VCR is. I was there when it was new. And I got it in 1989. And it's been with me ever since. So right now, it's in the closet in here. And we're going to hook it up to the 1987 Zenith H1955W. So yes, this was my first VCR. It's a beta format. And not just a beta format, but a super beta. Which has nothing to do with Super VHS. I can get into that later in the video. This was in competition with VHS's HQ, although this SuperBeta obliterated it. Even though this is post-format war, beta still lived on. It may have been a niche market, but it still lived on. And 1985 through 86 produced some of the best beta machines made, including the SL-100. It's a little dusty because I haven't restored it yet. This is the famous SL-100. It weighs 40 pounds, about, I'm guessing, but it's heavy-ass machine. But what also I'm bringing up right here, look. Super high band 6 megahertz Beta 1S. That is yet a step above Beta 1S. Look, you have regular 1S and super high band beta for Beta 1. It has 2 flying erase heads, a frame counter, as well as I got a bunch of other high-end betas from 85 through 86, including this linear skate loading model. It's like a hybrid front loader, top loader. But this one here is a low-end model. It's an entry-level beta. It still uses the 711 B2 chassis with the solenoids. I'll get into that later. But anyways, our actual first VCR was a Sanyo Betacord 4400 from 1985. These are everywhere. Sanyo sold a ton of them. This is not the original VCR. I got this in the early 2000s off eBay. However, to make it a very, very special episode, this VCR dust cover is the original dust cover my parents bought for it in 85, which eventually migrated over to the SL-100 here. So in this video, I'm going to clean this dust cover up and put it on that one. You know it's old when it's not just a boring black, whatever, when it's like brown and all these different colors and everything. So yeah, I did a video on this 15 years ago or so, 13 years ago, but I'll revisit it. Everything works on it except recording. It does not want to record right. It records in monochrome with a lot of issues, so we'll have to address that. But like I said, Sanyos are not the greatest. I've never been impressed with the majority of their stuff. Their TVs, though, are decent. They're very reliable. Picture quality is pretty good. Not the best, but pretty good. What happened to ours, you see, and we'll show this later in the video, but we got this in early 1985. And it lasted a year. And instead of my parents fixing it, they threw it out and got the SL-100. Anyways, Sanyo, and I say if you're going to get a beta VCR, do not get a Sanyo. I do have them. If it's no problem if you want to collect them, but if you want, but the quality of them is not that great. Their picture quality is very, very mediocre. I'm not a big fan of them at all. So anyways, early 86 comes this guy here. And again, December 1987, we won that TV at my mom's work, which was a commercial hotel motel TV, which consumers normally can't buy. And they made the decision to give me this VCR. Now, granted, it sat in its box until 1989, September of 89, after they bought a VCR to replace this one, which I'll show very shortly. So yeah, that's how I ended up with it. So it sat between early 88 through September of 89 when it was united with the Zenith H1955W. So one more thing. This was the VCR they bought in its place. It's also another entry-level unit. This one's from 1988. It's a Sony SuperBeta SL-330. Now this one can also be a very, very special episode, but this one's going to require some work. This one has mechanical issues, electrical issues. I mean, this one's not in that good shape. But we will get it going. We will. But yeah, this is what replaced it. And real quick, I'll just go on. Yeah, they made beta. Sony made beta machines well into the 90s, like 1996. In Japan, they made their last model, consumer machine. 1993, we got this model, SL-HF2000 from 1993, and as you can see, it just looks like a 90s VCR. Very curvy, futuristic look to it. Has all the latest features and everything you could want. I don't have this model, but I'd like to get it someday. And it was the last model we got in the US. Real quick, I know we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but beta is my thing, okay? I know so much about it, so I'm going to share it with you. This tape here in this box, okay, this is not that old. This tape was made in Japan by Sony. Oh, wait, no. This tape was made in the USA by Sony. This box and tapes, it's from 2015. That was the last year they made consumer Betamax tapes. So it's not like they stopped. I mean, you could still get movies on beta well into the 90s. Mid-90s is kind of when it kind of stopped. Such as My Girl. I mean, that movie's from 1991. This tape's from 92. So I bought a bunch of these Radio Shack tapes in like 2001. And they are in this format here. So anyways, we'll get into that more later. For now, our goal is to fix this machine up. Age-related issues. And very easy to fix, and they're common, so if you have one of these, you'll know how to fix it. So let's get this thing going. So to give you a bit on its history, it wasn't until like the summer of 1992, I mean, I use this thing heavily. Summer of 1992, playing back and recording, it started skipping speeds to the point where it was unusable. So unfortunately, it got put away. At the time, it still had the box. Unfortunately, I don't have the box. But that said, during that time frame, we had the Emerson VCR964 that I did a video on, my first VHS machine. Now, that was my parents at the time. That Christmas, they bought an Emerson VCS990 hi-fi stereo unit to go with their 32-inch Panasonic TV. And I got that VCR, hence my first VHS VCR I did the video on. But midsummer 1993, One day I came home and this VCR was in my room and it was fixed. My friend's dad was a TV repairman. I guess my mom asked him to fix this for me. And the problem was simply just a dirty control track head. So that's when I started using this thing again. And I'll show you some of the first recordings I did later. But I got so used to using VHS during that time, I got to use this, and I was like, wow. I mean, the audio quality was much better. The picture quality blew it away. And I'll get into some of the specs later in the video, specifically SuperBeta. And as well as the other formats. It went on. There was extended definition beta, which was to compete with SVHS, except it blew it away. It actually got the same resolution, if not better, than a DVD. Chroma, though, was always 30 lines, horizontal lines, on any consumer format. That's why you need a component recorder like Betacam to get any better than that. But that said, and real quick, I'll just say SuperBeta is anywhere between 290 and 300 lines. Broadcast TV is 300 to 330 lines. So this pretty much could record the same resolution as broadcast TV. VHS HQ, it only got it up to 250, 260 lines, and that was it. But we'll get into that later in the video because there's a lot of misinformation and other things being spread around about this, and because people just don't know. I have experience with it. I lived with it. And even though my machines originally were entry-level machines, I got the higher-end ones. So anyways, back on to what I was saying. So 1996 to early 97, I had the other problem that some other people have found. Probe knot. If you are playing a tape and you're noticing this like oscillating really fast, and it's causing your audio to flutter and your picture to wave, the problem is actually with this reel table here, and it has to do with the felt tension band. Clean it, clean the reel table, your problem's solved. I figured that out way back in 1996, early 97, when this machine was doing it. And yes, it can't happen to anything. My Emerson VCR964 was doing it really bad on EP. Same problem, cleaned it, and sounded fine after that. And from late 90s through the 2000s, this thing was used not that often. I started using it again in the 2010s when the infamous Sanyo STK5441 IC failed. This thing would not power on correctly. The power LED never came on. The tuner came on though, and nothing worked. So the only real repair I've done to this is that regulator IC. That's it. This board, all original caps, original transformer. But this one is a real oddball. I mean, this was low end, and not in terms of its performance. I mean, the picture was excellent on this, don't get me wrong, and so is the audio. Wow, even it's linear. But it is very, very stripped down. For example, it only has line out. It does not even have line in. It has the spaces for it up here, but they're not populated. And, or it's even stranger, especially for 1986, the search functions, beta scan, it works like the older ones. It releases the pinch roller into freewheels. So they got rid of the circuitry to handle the special effects with the capstan, which was really odd. I always wondered why it did that, but I understand now. This was just a very, very entry-level machine. But despite its entry-levelness, it's the same chassis, same tape transport. This is the original cog belt. Those like never go bad. This is a planetary gear set. It works like a transmission. It shifts between loading and loading the tape. Loading the cassette, then threading the tape. Once it's loaded though, everything's done by solenoids. which is the best thing they could ever done. It came out on the SL-2000s, which I have, but those were very, very overly complex. Those had like 8 motors in them, whereas this is simplified, but switching modes between play, fast forward, rewind, search, it's instantaneous. You're a solenoid and bam, you're in the next mode. You don't have to wait for it to change modes. So that was a really good design, and oddly they went to the 711B3 chassis, which is what the SL-330 has, and that one works like any other VCR out there. I don't know why they went away from this. This was a fantastic design. So, what do we got to do now? What are the problems? Press power. That was a solenoid engaging, and that's for the loading, so it transfers the power to the loading portion. This is a junk tape I use for testing, so now that had a little trouble there, but it's working just fine now. The real tables are direct drive. There's no belts. And this has a pendulum gear that swings. So let's try this again. The sound it makes, I've always remembered this machine for it. Now what's interesting about fast forward and rewind, the tape counter here, which is kind of hard to see, but if you pay attention to the beginning of the tape and the end of the tape when you go to rewind, the speed the tape is going, the linear speed is the same. You'll hear this motor speed up or slow down depending on where it's at. So here's stop. Okay, there, it just did a problem. And it's a real simple problem that's very easy to fix. I pressed stop and it went into play. It's not a problem with the circuitry. It's with the buttons. Instead of running a wire to each button, it uses like a resistor divider network, and the resistance value of when you press the button tells the controller what function you're trying to do. Well, if they're dirty, sometimes it's going to mess up and give you the wrong command. Okay, that worked. Let me see, does rewind do anything? There's rewind. Okay, that time it stopped. See, I pressed play and it ejected. So we're going to have to address that. But again, very easy to fix. Now, the thing I have to address though, because the last time I used it, it wouldn't take a tape. And I'll show what the problem is. There's 2 switches there. You can see them right here. One is for the erase prevention tab, and the other one's to tell the machine a tape is inserted. Like it landed from the cassette basket. If that's dirty, it's not going to see the tape, and it's going to eject it back out because thinking there's a problem. But I know it did that last time I used it, so even though it's working now, we got to do some preventative maintenance to fix that. First thing I'll address is the issue with it's sensing a tape. Now, it did not do that in this video, but last time I used it, it did. So there obviously is a problem. Now I gotta wiggle this thing out of here. All right. Well, I guess while it is here, I can show you how to clean the tension band. So yeah, solenoid there to actuate all that. And this is still nice and free because I think this was a problem where the this would get stiff and need cleaned and lubricated, the pendulum gear. But yeah, you can see right here, it's direct drive. But the issue is with this switch right here. All right, trying to do the best I can to show you this, but just very, very fine grit sandpaper, like 1,000, 2,000 grit. Contact cleaner won't work on this. requires a bit more aggressiveness. You stick it in, down to where the contact point is, push down and pull it out. Stick it in, push down, pull it out. And stick down, pull it out. Now I probably did that half dozen times already. Try to do this better, come on. Do the other side, push down, pull it out. Down, pull it out. Now be careful with this, these are very thin pieces here. Just enough to get in there. Maybe once more just to be good. Okay. So that should clean the contact surfaces for that. Obviously did get something off of it. So just clean off any dust I may have made from putting sandpaper on. I am going to spray with some contact cleaner like that. Just before I call it done, that's all. And there's that CRC QD electronic cleaner. Works very well for doing stuff like this. It doesn't leave any residue. And now we got to snap this back in. And that's it. I know it didn't show like it seemed like it messed up when I first tried this, but last time I used it, it did. It had a problem. It didn't sense the tape in the machine. So this problem's fixed. Turn this guy back around. Actually, no. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Hang on. Not that it needs it on this right now because it's not doing it, but I am going to just clean the tension band on this real quick. So we lift it up and out. It's still very clean like last time, but I guess I could do this just to show you, just it's kind of hard to do. There we go. And I'll clean where it rides. Yeah, it's still very clean. That's what I mean. It doesn't even really need it on this one. But you can see how it's connected with this for tension. Well, if it starts doing this, the oscillating, that's what's causing it. And I'll clean the brake right here. Just because we're in here, may as well. I am getting some smuts off of it. It's not showing up too well on camera, but it is. You can see it's dirty. All right, I'm happy. Let's flip this guy back around. This is the only part you really got to watch for when you put it back down. Make sure this piece for tension goes in there, and this goes around that piece there. And it should wiggle into place, and it did. We're back in. That's all there is to it. There's not much to that. Up a little off camera. It's kind of hard to keep in there. But yeah, there's just 4 screws holding it down. And that's it. Everything's back in place. Now, before we can even put the back cover on, you gotta flip it around. Now this next part, I'm still using that CRC stuff. All those buttons and switches. Well, we're gonna just do it over here. Yeah, very liberal with it, but it dries quickly. Do it while everything's still wet. Now I'll do it. It's not too bad. I'll go over everything in greater detail once we get it back together and set up. Okay, now we'll do the, well, let's just do this one right there. To be on the safe side, because these were the buttons causing the most problems here. And the Novus will work also wonders on glass. So we'll just we'll clean this with that, because this will also repel dust. It already has a coating on it. It kept it completely clean, but put it on again. Makes it even better. Yeah, very shiny now. And I guess while it's off, I'll clean the door and everything, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, now let's see the end results here. Everything. All right, now let's check the buttons here. I'm going to press play. Now it goes in the play. Let's do Q. Yep. See, it freewheels, but it's instantaneous. It's just weird they did it like this. The other ones obviously would do the speed with the capstan. Review. Stop. Fast forward. Here's a trick about this, since it's fully solenoid operated. If you want to see where you're at in the video, or fast forward or rewind, just press and hold fast forward again. And then you can release, right up to speed. Yeah, everything's working. If I hit record, it should eject. Yep. Everything's working. Very easy fix. So now let's do a quick service of the tape transport. Now I know there's many people have different methods of doing this. I happen to have these chamois swabs. So just push it up against the head drum. Do not move up and down. It's a big no-no. You'll damage the head. And just turn it in the same direction it goes normally. Very little to nothing. Where's the heads at? All right. Now I just want to take this and clean the tape path. Everything should still be relatively clean since the last I used it. I'll get a Q-tip in a minute. Where's the head at? Okay, there's the head. I don't want to bump the head while I'm cleaning the head drum. Obviously, that'd be bad. Very bad. No, not much is coming off. Let's do the pinch roller real quick. Pinch roller's clean. We're good. All right, so I'm completely satisfied with this. Let's put the bottom and top covers on, and I'll finish novusing it. Bottom cover is just one screw. The rest of it's like little hooks that goes around, so it ain't gonna come off. Oh yeah. 35 years later, the SL-100 is reunited with the Zenith. Except this one is the original. For starters, let's set the clock. Clock set. Let's see, today is Monday. And let's see, I'm looking at the GE3-6015A boombox with its digital clock. It is 8:35. And this is actually important. This part here, what I'm about to do. Actually, it bumped the head. I'll synchronize it later because I synchronize my clocks to the second. Damn it. This unit is not quartz. It is actually synchronized to the line frequency. Now, when I was 3 years old and we got this, observe the blinking colon. Notice how the top half is blinking and not the bottom? We'll just hang tight for just a second. Yeah, see how it went to the bottom colon? That's the next 30 seconds. Well, guess what 3-year-old me did in the living room, running around? Red light, green light. I would run around like crazy, and as soon as that went to the top colon blinking, red light, I stopped at the VCR and waited. Yes, I did that at age 3. I was very observant of things like that. Now, look what it does now. Top colon blinks for 8:37. Very cool. Now, being an entry-level unit, the tuner is cable TV ready, but it's only a 14 position memory. And you switch AFT off, the tuning buttons here actually act as fine tuning controls if you have it like that. But let me see. See, it's on the low band. Now, if I were to detune it, see, it does automatically search for the next available channel. Obviously, it's at the very beginning of the band, so it has nothing. I'll press forward. Observe how it says tune. And it'll stop on the next channel, which is channel 3 in this case. And in this case, you can assign it any number. And you can also indicate if it was cable TV or not. I'll just, I'll leave that off like that. And then hit channel set again. That puts it into memory, non-volatile memory. So I programmed that station decades ago into this thing. But yeah, that's how that works. And channel clear erases it from memory. Simple as that. And when you're all done, you switch AFT to on. So we did the clock set. Beta mode 2 and 3. 2 being the standard speed. And that's also stored in non-volatile memory because it'll remember when it's been unplugged for a while, plug it back in, remembers the last speed you set it for. Tape return is the same thing as memory. So whatever you have on the tape counter, minus or plus, press this, it'll return to 0000. Linear time counter because beta. Beta did not have to unthread the tape, although Sanyos in their weirdness did. And the reason why initially has nothing to do with headwear or component wear. It was for the tape. The number of degrees of the bends in the tape, with VHS is an M, it goes like that. Beta was modeled after U-matic. In fact, that's where their original logo looked like the U-matic logo. It, in this case, this one threads in reverse of the original ones, but it goes out, it goes up, over, and back in. So far few turns in number of degrees of the tape. It was more for the tape. And as time went on, you know, VHS, they started doing a half loading arm, holding the tape against the ACE head to actually give it a linear time counter. And then in the 90s, they went to a newer style where the tape went up, down, then over this way, then into the tape. Hence the drop down capstan you see. And by the 2000s, they pretty much abandoned that and said heck with it and rewind the tape in 60 seconds with the original loading pattern of the original VHS machines. So who cares about your tape then, right? They just wanted to see how fast they could go. They didn't care about your tape. But yeah, that's why. It has to do with the tape and the number of degrees of turns in the tape. And they, back in the 80s and stuff, you were concerned about that. Tapes were expensive. So we have the original VCR. Yes, we have the original remote. Again, very basic machine. But it does have an LED that flashes when you press functions. record protection, you hold two at once. You have your channel up, VTR, which is your RF modulator, and power. And you're not going to believe this, but we also have the original coax cable that the machine came with. And I don't know if you can see it, but it even says 1985 on it right there. And the original owner's manual. Copyright 1985. And Sony also put their serial numbers on top like that. So, quick look at the owner's manual. Oh, what? I don't remember putting that in there. Cool. I think it's off one of those Radio Shack tapes. If you want to read, pause it. Take a quick look-see at the manual here. I remember one time in the late 90s, AMC, the channel, was scrambled. But I played with the fine tuning on that VCR, and it decoded it. I got AMC for free on that VCR. So, who knows. About the SuperBeta switch. Normally keep the switch in the on position to obtain high quality picture recordings and playback. Tapes recorded in other non-SuperBeta VCRs can be played on SuperBeta VCRs. Tapes recorded in SuperBeta can be played on other non-SuperBeta VCRs, ... However, some overmodulation noise may appear in a picture during playback. If you intend to play back on other non-SuperBeta VCRs, set the SuperBeta switch to off. What that means is it's equivalent to trying to play a Super VHS tape on a standard VHS machine. You get all those white streaks. That's overmodulation noise. But again, this has nothing to do with Super VHS. That's 1988. We're in 1985, 86 right now, where HQ is a thing for VHS. That said, my SuperBeta recordings on here tend to play pretty well on non-SuperBeta machines. Beta scan, beta skip scan, tape counter, that return button, I'll demonstrate that later, wireless remote, timer recording. All right. And the timer it's a 6-event, 7-day recorder, or every day. And this shows you how to do that. I will also be simulating that later. See, SL-100 for playback only. And you can see there is the original coax. You can tell just by the ends on it. Color monitor connection, adjusting the TV, and just what I was showing you there about presetting the channels. And they always had this little cartoon right here. And we just did setting the clock and the specifications. So it is capable of tuning in 14 through 36, 66 through 94, and 98 through 125 on cable TV band. But again, it's an entry-level machine. There's only 14 memory positions. Beta 2 frequency response, 10,000 hertz, so that's excellent. Sounds very, very good. I'm going to get into something about the speeds right here. It can play Beta 1 tapes, but I'm going to have to get into detail about that because there's a lot of misconception going around about Beta. And I'll explain that. And like I was telling you, the clock is synchronized with the power frequency on this one. And there's the accessories, including the 75 ohm coax cable, F-type connectors. I do not have that external antenna connector though. Do have the remote. And the back is your troubleshooting. And it is printed in Japan. And as if things couldn't get even more special, there's more to this, but the reason my parents bought the Sanyo I showed earlier in this video was our next door neighbors had this, the Sony Betamovie BMC 110. And this is a very, very special episode coming up because this is the camera that recorded this. In 2000, our neighbors from the first house came to my high school graduation. We talked and said, hey, we still got that camera. And bam, there it is. And believe it or not, at 18 years old, the original lead acid battery still worked fine. And I made a bunch of recordings with it during that time frame. But the point is, this tape right here from Christmas of 1984 was recorded on this exact camera. And there will be a video on it once I get that one, the camera up and running. Needs a little servicing too. But, so that was why we got the Sanyo Betacord. And then a year later, this one, so. So the very first thing we're going to play on this is this tape because there's multiple very special moments on here. Turn the tape counter on. It blanks the screen while it spools up the head. And there we go.
Wow, look at this kid go.
What's that called? Breakdancing.
Breaking. Do you believe this? 2.5-year-old boy breaking. This is terrific. Never seen this entire coast south.
What are you driving?
Here he comes. He's crawling.
That car right there is a Knight Rider remote control car. Nugga, nugga. Nugga, nugga, nugga.
Better.
Right there, that explains a lot. But notice, no Sanyo Betacord. That didn't happen until a few months later. Here's me, May 5th, 1985. Back when three-wheelers were a thing. Power wheels, pow, pow, power wheels, now your driver's for real. My mom's Plymouth Turismo and dad's Trans Am from 77.
What's your name? Huh?
The motorcycle needs charged up. Oh, if this episode didn't get any more special. Okay, that's me. But you see that stool right there? Well, this is the same stool as in that video, except in that video, that stool was brand new, 1985. It's been used so much, I wore down the rubber feet to nothing. And in here, you see this little chip right here? This also happened in 1985. I was in the spare bedroom. I found my dad's hammer and I smacked this and I broke it. Way back in 1985. So yeah, very special episode in more ways than one. This is a recording I made in 1996 through the RF connection. And that's when I really saw how good this machine can record. I mean, it's just SuperBeta, Beta 2. Look how picture perfect it is. Very little chroma noise. And that's the same Super Nintendo that's down there. Very special episode. Wow, that looks amazing. Sorry for the, again, being in the dark, but it's hard to record TVs. But you can kind of see what's going on. Get commentary. Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, this unit was so basic, it didn't even have a tape-in indicator. You had to look through the door. It's a very unusual machine, that's for sure. So, back on track with a very special episode regarding this TV. Back in 1989, after I got my original Nintendo Entertainment System down there, I discovered the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, broadcast on Fox 53. And unfortunately, I was not home, so guess what? I figured out how to timer program this, and we were set. However, this tape is not the original tape. This tape here occurred in 1993 after I got this machine back. So unfortunately, this is a family channel recording, which means it's edited. Oh well. But anyways, now this is where I got it back and I was like, wow, the picture quality on it, because I got so used to VHS. Beta 2, Super Beta. I'll turn the light off in a moment.
With flight helmet, gun, fighting machine, 12 inches tall. It's a whole new way to play. That's what's gone. And all that's left is his mask.
I wonder what he looks like.
Find out with the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame collection. Each sold separately.
On Super NES and Sega Genesis. Fight me! So hang on to your seat. Get ready for adventure and remarkable feats. You'll meet the Coopers and Troopers, the princess and the others. Hanging with the plumbers, you'll be hooked on the brothers to the friends.
I really love the soundtrack in this show. There's this one channel on YouTube who actually has managed to get all the background music extracted from this. Excellent.
Hey, Toad, are you ready to blast that satellite?
Well, again, two-head machine, special effects. This is Beta 2. Now, as for cue and review, again, it freewheels instead of using capstan steady speed, so it kind of does this.
Okay, then.
That's review. But otherwise, it's instantaneous. If it had the additional circuitry, you'd see it. I have other machines I can demonstrate this on in the future. And right here is where the music would have been inserted. The sound-alike music. The same channel did manage to acquire all the music used. That's what I remember when I watched it on this. I'm amazed. This is picture perfect. Recorded off cable TV.
Don't ever steal a used flying carpet.
This moment in 1993 is when I realized my true love for Beta. Before that, I didn't have it. We didn't have VHS to compare it to. But even before that, even back in 1991, I always fantasized about what would this machine be like 40 years from now or so. Well, here we are, 40 years later. Still playing along. Now, one big misconception about Beta. You see, initially it would start off as pretty much an industrial machine that can be for consumer use, okay? Based off of U-matic. That's why the original tapes are only 1 hour long. And the speed was Beta 1, 4 centimeters per second, okay? And people think, oh, well, you know, they had to slow the tape down, hence losing the original quality they were known for. And I'm going to say you're completely wrong right there. Okay? What happened was, they realized for putting movies on there, yeah, you're going to have to slow the tape down. But they're on the original Beta 1, not Super Beta, but original Beta, there is no quality difference between Beta 1 and Beta 2. Okay? What happened was, in order to slow the tape down, they had to do reformulation on the tape, which was pretty much the same as VHS. I mean, but yeah, they reformulated the tape. Going from Beta 1 to Beta 2, they got rid of the guard bands between the video tracks. And all that really means is you had picture-perfect tracking. Even though this one pretty much already is picture-perfect, but you pretty much didn't even need a tracking control with Beta 1 in its original format. But Beta 1 stuck around for industrial purposes, such as this Beta tape from 1984. Alright, so see, for the first time in this machine's life, I am playing a Beta 1 tape on it. But even though it's the faster tape speed on regular Beta 1, there's no difference in quality between this and the Beta 2 over-the-air tape we just watched. This tape is on YouTube, by the way. Again, the heads in this are optimized for Beta 2 and Beta 3. Out of curiosity, since I've never used this, what does search look like? Oh, weird. Yeah, even the linear audio sounds just as good as the Beta 2. Now, that said, one of the reasons Beta gets better picture is the head drum diameter is much larger than VHS, hence you get more bandwidth. Now, again, like I said, standard Beta 1, no difference. Now, when SuperBeta came out is when it finally took advantage of that Beta 1's higher linear tape speed. And there were there are two variations of Beta 1S. There was Beta 1S, and then there was Beta 1 Super High Band. And in this clip here, I am going to use the tape return function because the beginning of that tape is actually damaged. And I didn't splice it yet. But you'll get to see how it works. This was recorded off a DVD recently, last decade or so. And this is Beta 2. And it's recorded on one of those tapes from 2015. I'm sorry for the glare. This room's kind of hard to record in.
Just getting warmed up. Now back to Heathcliff.
You know, I don't think I was done with this tape.
Up one payment. You get it all for just...
Because I didn't label it. I don't think this was what I was intending to have on this tape. I think I was testing another VCR. That's what this was. Because... I'm probably not going to do it in this video, but I swear one of these tapes I recorded something on Beta 1S. But yeah, as for Beta tapes, the standard would be, like everybody, the typical was the L750 tape, which gave 3 hours on the standard speed. I would have much rather recorded TV shows like that and get 3 hours out of a tape of picture-perfect media like that. But then... yeah, these are L500s, which give 2 hours per tape on Beta 2. You can use that for movies or whatever. Beta 1S is even better. And what would you use that for? Well, editing, or doing home movies or whatever. So hopefully someday soon I'll get to those other high-end machines so we could have fun with that. I even have the outboard editor for one of them. So I guess one thing we could concentrate on now is making new recordings right now for demonstration purposes. We could try, off a TV. We could try video games like I did there. Another thing I was always amazed about on this was how it used the symbols there. Square for the RF modulator. Timer record was the red square, and record was the circle. That's one thing I did want to do. I want to set this up to do timer recording for the first time in decades with this unit. That should be fun. This label here defines everything a lot better. There's beta, there's super beta, and then there's super high band beta. And that's kind of what I was getting at. Okay, see how it says beta 1S? Okay, beta 1S is super beta on beta 1. But then you had super high band beta on beta 1, which took the frequency response up to 6 megahertz. And of course, digital being the PCM recorders, and B&R is beta noise reduction for the linear stereo machines. So, let's do this right now. This is playing. I'm going to let this thing run, but here's record on beta tape from 2015. Super beta on. And that's it. So, I let the machine record a entire tape on beta 2 super beta off a DTV converter box. And let's see what we got.
No more classes, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks. Yeah.
Oh my, that's perfect. Holy cow. This entry-level super beta machine looks that good. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, but I've been using VHS for a while lately, and going to this, same effect.
Kids can be naughty again. Naughty, you might like to know, is natural for little kids.
All right, so now let's do beta 3 super beta record. And we'll be back in a minute. All right, let's see what we got. I'm going to do a tape return. Well, you can see it's a little bit softer now, but obviously going slower speed, but still, chroma noise, very little of it. Even the linear audio is real clear for beta 3. And that's where I stopped it. Ye Old Super Nintendo Yellow Edition. This is my original, so again, very, very special episode. We're going to repeat what I did back in 1996. Same thing, beta 2, but I'm not going to record me playing, I'll just do the playback. Tape start, here we go. So, course, it doesn't have a flying erase head, so you get a little bit of rainbow at first, but then it'd be picture perfect. And this is a good test because video games are hard on VCRs. Somehow my save state's still in there just fine. My original Donkey Kong Country game, the battery's dead in it already. I lost everything. I need to go through all my games and start putting new batteries in them while keeping it powered up. Okay, I'll see about doing this to get rid of some glare. I realized how bad it was trying to record this. I'll try to get the... I always love the music in this. This looks the same as the 1996 recording. Try to record it like this, get the glare off for you. I'm going to do something I have not actually done with this machine since the 90s. I'm going to do a timer record. So we already have the clock set. 9:32. Really? Felines and doggos. All right. All right, so it blinks. Event 1. All right. Oh, wow. I have not done this in so long on this machine. This is definitely nostalgic here. All right, so what's today? Today is Tuesday. 9. Set it for 9:35. Turn off at 9:36. And obviously I only have only channel 3 programmed. So it lets you review it. And then you press it in here. Then the machine shuts off. And it's just the red square. Yep. I remember doing that for the first time back in 1989 on this thing. And off we go. Timer recording. Exactly 1 minute. And that was it. Timer recording. And then, as I reset, I just hit tape return. Yeah, it always did stop 1 second ahead. Just a quirk. And what do we got?
We're back with more cartoon fun. Continuing now. Here we go again.
Looks just as good as what just played.
One way here. Feels like it's already here.
And it's going to stop
If
here.
I was to spend another winter in...
And it blanks the video. And after it passes, it'll pick up what I recorded over. Oh, see, that's when I recorded that on Beta 2 or Beta 3. So that's what was going on there. And now you can see where I'm at. Another thing I'm fortunate to have is I have all the beta tapes from back in the day. Most of them were recordings off HBO. And as I mentioned, you're thinking, well, we had cable TV, but not a converter box. Yeah, for some reason, the cable company is able to put HBO on channel 3 without a converter box. So that's how that worked. In addition, these are all the original tapes from back in the day. And thanks to Madness 832, because a lot of these came from him as well, I have a lot of pre-recorded tapes too. And I had to pull some out to get to some, so there's here some on the floor that will be put back on the shelf shortly. But what would make this very, very special episode even better? How about playing a tape that was actually recorded on this exact machine back in 1986? But as you can see, it has Back to the Future on it. And I wrote sometime in the late 90s format SuperBeta on it, because some of these tapes are indeed recorded on the Sanyo Betacord, which is regular beta. So we'll try this out. This was recorded off HBO on Beta 3 on this exact unit. I mean, that is one thing. This was recorded off cable TV back in 1986, and it plays perfectly. It's clear. This was the slowest tape speed, and here's pause on Beta 3. And this Beta scan looks a bit different too. It's actually a bit clearer. TV.
Murder, music, and monkey business tonight on HBO. At 8, Clint and Clyde will turn you every which way but loose. At 10, the HBO World Stage, Billy Joel from Leningrad, USSR. At 11, Jeff Bridges battles booze, bitterness, and the bad guys. 8 Million Ways to Die. Sin, Soviets, and Simian Silliness tonight on HBO.
The following movie has been rated PG by the Motion Picture Association of America. Parental guidance is suggested.
Oh, did you hear that? There's like a half-second delay. I heard like parental very quiet. In stereo, we're available. So yeah, even after 4 decades, these tapes still play perfectly. And turn this down so the copyright police don't get to me. So tracking, I can go all the way counterclockwise. Yep. I can go clockwise now, and it's only till I almost get to the end. It's just that little bit there. It is that, and it's like it on Beta 2 too. It's like perfect. Proper storage is key. These have always been stored in a climate-controlled environment their whole life. Tapes have been properly rewound every time. So yeah, very, very special tape because it was recorded on this exact machine back in the day. Well, here's the dust cover bought back in 1985, the original one and the same one. Originally for the Sanyo Betacord, then ended up on this one. It's just the universal one you buy at the store, but nothing fancy. But notice it's not just a generic black, it's early 80s colors. Still in great condition. And is a bit too big for it because it's meant for like an older machine. The Betacord, for example, fit perfectly. But this is how I remember it. Now, granted, when I had it, starting in '89 with this TV, I didn't have it on, didn't use the dust cover because it's in a TV cart, an enclosed TV cart. But when I got it back in 1993, through, I don't know, when did I do that? Like through 95. It sat on this exact Nintendo chest on top, and I had the dust cover on it then. And now the dust cover is back with it. So that is a 40-year-old dust cover. Here's the Zenith, reunited once again 35 years later. Now, I guess you could call it a very, very special episode because that's the same exact Nintendo. That would have been in the original setup. So yeah. And I can call it done now. Everything's back to the way it was. Back in September of '89 through about February 1990. Very, very special episode. Thanks for watching.
I would like to extend a special thank you for the support of our star patrons, Lexmarks 567, Marlow Bear 72, and Matthew Best.